Peter Hitchens is not somebody that I typically agree with. In fact, I find him to be a bit of a, what would be the British term for it? Miserable old git.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a bit of a miserable old git. All of his writings tends to be just him moaning about things that he doesn't like. And to be fair...
He's our miserable old
Yeah, that's the thing. To be fair, I agree with a lot of the things that he doesn't like being terrible. It's just the way that he puts it just comes across like my dad at the dinner table, you know? Less structured. But he is a good thinker for the most part and has come out with something that I actually do really agree with, which is the idea that perhaps we, as the English in England, should secede from the United Kingdom. Because what's it doing for us? They all seem to hate us. Scotland wants to go. Wales don't particularly like us currently. Screw it. Let's just leave them to it then.
I feel bad for the Northern Irish, but...
Yeah. Well, he said in an interview... well, I'll go through it later. But before we go any further, I'll just bring your attention to Hugo's old article from last year, Why the West Needs City-States, primarily because secession, as I understand it, should be a right that people have to do, which is that I don't like how you are governing me. Therefore, I'm just going and I'm just taking control of my own destiny. It is something that I think is quite important. And I think that England seceding from the UK could be a good start to getting back to city-states as Hugo conceptualises them.
In my head, I've just got the South has joined the chat.
Yep.
Anyway.
Well, actually, the North is trying to secede as well. And you know what? Manchester, Liverpool... Good luck to you. Why not? But, so yeah, this is an article that Peter Hitchens published in the Daily Mail on the Mail Plus, and I thought I'd just go through it because whether you agree with it or not, he puts forward some interesting ideas here, and he's got some good points to go through. So let's go with it. Let's take a look, shall we? So what are we waiting for? All the other nations of the UK are set on tearing themselves away from England. I've given up trying to persuade them to stay. Let us leave them instead. Good start. Have a referendum if you must, but I reckon that any party that puts an English secession from the UK in its general election manifesto will win a smashing majority. Maybe.
Any major party, I presume.
Yes, and any major party. Obviously, you could just have the English Independence Party, and they probably...
Well, there are the English Democrats, so I don't know if you're familiar with them. But,
no, I'm not actually.
Yeah, so they've been campaigning for ages to basically be like, screw this. Though they have some strange ideas about how England should be governed afterwards, like we should make an English parliament somewhere. So
we've already got one.
Yeah, you would have thought. But this is a policy debate that no one really cares about.
All right, so he carries on. You could not call this independence, since England has never depended on other countries in these islands. I would call it... Big dunk right there, big dunk.
True, but...
Yeah, true, but we don't normally... Normally we're a bit more polite around that in these parts, okay?
Usually don't mention it, mate.
Yeah. I would call it the restoration of England, in recollection of that other great moment in our history when Oliver Cromwell's nightmare Republican junta crumbled in 1660 and we returned with relief to our ancient laws and liberties. From a chosen day, England would once again be a sovereign nation in its own right, instead of the country that lives in millions of hearts but is barely mentioned in official documents and is associated mainly in the minds of this world with football and cricket teams. And he's got a point, yeah. For any time you put anything to the on like websites or anything, it's always you have to choose the UK, and I'm just there like I'd rather just put English because that's what I am. I'm English. I'm not from the UK. I'm from England. It would be surprisingly easy since so much of our government and law is already English, borrowed by others from us. No more would we have
another big dunk.
Yep. No more will we have to speak of our country abroad as the UK, a wary set of initials that denies 1,000 years of illustrious history and reduces them to a bureaucratic nothingness. And I agree, there is something beautifully traditional and patriotic about just being able to throw aside all of the bureaucracy and just be like, no, I'm English. Let me just write it down on here on all of your official documents.
From the Kingdom of England, not the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Right.
We have the laws of England, our great founding documents, the Great Charter and the Bill of Rights are English. We have the literature of England, a possession beyond price. Did you ever hear anyone speak of British literature? We have a Queen of England.
Again, I just love how he just litanies with these little dunks in there. It's just like, yeah, English literature. It's not called British literature.
Well, it's also the question. Hey. It's also the question of, because you're going through here, we've got the Queen of England, we've got the Church of England, our government ministries are only operating in England, and stuff like that. It's just like, well, yeah, what have we got to lose? All the institutions are ours. If Scotland and Wales want to be independent anyway, they'll have to set up their own institutions if they don't have them already. So,
Yeah, because as Carl points out, like the UK and the extension being the British Empire was an imperial project that is long since gone. Like, it's over, and
Yeah.
I feel terribly sad for the Northern Irish in all of this because they're the only ones that frankly I have like huge sympathy with in regards to like we don't want to be with Sinn Féin, please. And,
Yeah, please don't abandon us to this.
Also, the Welsh I really like, but with the Scottish keep voting for the SNP, I'm just like, all right, something has to be done here.
Yeah, this is just messing with our elections, if anything else. The breakup of the BBC and the creation of a new English broadcasting corporation would be a superb opportunity for desperately needed reform.
Just put it out of its misery.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just there like, Peter, I'm with you so far, but the BBC, let's just get rid of it. Let's just get rid of it altogether. Something else will take its place. I mean,
we can't take it for walks anymore. It's pissing the beds. Let's just put it out.
Yeah, it's covered in rainbows everywhere. It's not even hiring English people anymore. For the love of God, just get away with it. But it is true that it would be a good opportunity for reform. And I don't think my reform would be the same reform as Peter's, because Peter is still very left-wing on economics, and he would probably be like, oh, we need to nationalise this and that. And it's like, no, just leave it to the hands of the people.
I don't know if he's going to bring it up, but I also just love the point of like the SNP whining, Plaid Cymru whining, and Sinn Féin whining, and then we just go bye.
Yeah,
and they're
goodbye,
left
then.
they're all left in the UK looking at each other going, wait, hang on.
Wait, what now?
We were meant to get, our moment of like, haha, the English, but the English are gone, so it's now haha on ourselves.
We're just sailing away with cocktails in hands, like, good luck, guys.
Just building a fence.
I'm
You
not
can't
your-
cross as private property. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Why not? To rebuild Hadrian's Wall, I say. We have a Queen of England. Oh, yeah, I went through that part. In fact, this would be part of the point. We have no need to set up an English Parliament in some shed in Milton Keynes designed by one of those Blairite architects, all poles, points and projections with funny wooden bits glued on to relive the boredom. The Parliament at Westminster is English already, since the days of Simon de Montfort, and has simply given hospitality to others during the long adventure of the Union. And that's a point I'll come to later, is that a lot of this is regarding the fact that basically for the most part this Union now is us just giving charity to ungrateful countries, especially Scotland. We're basically subsidising quite a bit of Scotland, so it's like, why? What are we getting from you?
Yeah, but specifically the SNP, because that's the matter as well. The Blairite project to give them their own parliament has led to the SNP just screwing everything up they're given, which then means that the balance gets worse and worse, and now it just kind of looks like I want to just. My brother used to have this chant when he would play Xbox Live on Call of Duty, where he'd run into a northerner and he'd just start chanting, "We pay your benefits, we pay your benefits." But to be honest, that's not true.
I mean, being from the north, there are quite a few people I've met who are a little bit scroungy.
That was 20 odd years ago, and the redistribution now, it's definitely the SNP. Like, whenever you hear an SNP
We
voice,
pay for your heroin, we pay for your heroin.
basically.
Yeah, by becoming wholly English again, it could recover much of its force and its purpose. Personally, I think the great years of our global power are thrilling and inspiring, and agree with the conclusion of the Spanish-American philosopher George Santayana on Britain's imperial era, that never since the days of heroic Greece has the world had such a sweet, just, boyish master. It will be a black day for the human race when scientific blackguards, churls and fanatics managed to supplant him. No doubt many wicked things were done by our empire, but compare it with the Soviet, Belgian, Spanish and Portuguese empires of the past, or with the hideous Chinese empire of the future. And
Again, I love the bombs. I mean, just stop for a minute. It's just like...
Oh, yeah, of course.
We've done terrible things, but you can't name them. Whereas for the Soviet Union War, everybody knows.
It's pretty obvious. I mean, and this is coming from a former Trotskyite, so...
Yeah, but no one is deeply confused about what the Soviet Union did wrong throughout the years. No one is deeply confused about the Germans and what they did wrong.
We all know. All of the tankies have spent years trying to not actually cover it up or deny it, but make excuses for it, because they know that they can't deny it. The documents are out there, the facts are out there, the footage is out there. It's obvious.
And with the Chinese Communist Party's empire of the future, like, we could already see the camps and the trains.
And what did we do? We stopped Indians burning their wives to death. Oh no, what terror, what harshness we put upon the world. And you might then concede that if there must be empires, and it looks very much as if this is so, because of course we are currently in the era of the American Empire, as far as I would consider it. Ours was better by far than any that has ever existed. We have gained great things from it in experience and knowledge, as well as treasure. Many of our former subjects and their descendants still seek and choose to live there, and they are very welcome. Live here, and they're very welcome. But the empire is over, and we shall never again rule the waves or make great the powers of the earth tremble with the might of our navy. And I think that is something to take from this, which is that,
That attitude.
No. As it stands at the moment, England will never be a great superpower in the global geopolitics as it stands right now. If anything, I think oftentimes, especially with Boris Johnson at the helm, we're just going out of our way to embarrass ourselves by trying to sort of posture as if we are some kind of great global superpower right now. So I say, take a step back, acknowledge what we are, and just get on with it.
I can agree with that sentiment, except from the part where you're saying we're embarrassing ourselves by saying we don't have this power. We got a lot of soft power. But
soft power?
But regardless of the debate, like, I am very much up for the Imperial Navy coming back, but not on the seas, instead in the big open world of the space. And that's
the one the place not yet corrupted by capitalism.
Yes, I'm very much a big fan of the UK Space Agency, and we should just start pushing money into that. And,
that's fine by me.
Become the kings of space.
But when it comes to stuff like what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, at the end of the day, it's like, what are we gaining?
Who cares about your petty earthling problems?
Yeah,
The British Empire is intergalactic now.
Yes, we're spreading tea throughout the cosmos. It's beautiful.
Anyway, my fantasies.
Yeah. Yet we are still unconquered for almost 1,000 years, sustained by an extraordinary civilization based upon trust and the thirst for justice. As Tennyson put, though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Look around Europe and see that those nations that are happiest, they are the small, compact ones which concentrate on their own business and contentment rather than stomping around the world pretending to be great powers when they long ago ceased to be so. They join alliances when it suits them to do. They rejoice in what they have, and we have much more than they do. So
that's a very compelling argument.
It's sounding pretty good to me so far. And then he just goes on about how he finds the word.
But also, I don't know if you're going to pick up on it, but
yeah.
There's a great aspect of this in the heroic island story, which is to say that actually we're also the victims of the British Empire, and therefore seceding from that in and of itself. And then we don't have to have any of that baggage. None of that nonsense applies to us anymore.
That is a good point, actually, yeah. Stepping aside from the past, acknowledging that it happened, but going, okay, this is what we are right now, gives us a sort of shield to be able to say, like, well, you can't hurt us anymore. Because the British establishment, as far as it goes politically, has for far, far too long just let the rest of the world stomp all over them and say, like, oh, you're racist, you're evil, look at what you did to our country.
Which is how you end up with rape gangs.
Yes, exactly. I'll just get to the end of this article and then move on a little bit. So, call me a little Englander if you want. The great marvel of this country was always that it was so small, yet came to dominate the whole world for an astonishing few decades. I would rather be jeered at for admitting our real size and our true limits than be like the frog in the fable which tried to pull itself up to be bigger than the mighty ox and so exploded into fragments. It's a pretty good argument, if you ask me, so far. I'm liking the idea, and he expanded on this a little bit with an interview that he did with the BBC, I think, yesterday. And I'm not going to play any of it because I couldn't get the clips, but I'll just go over some of the things that he was asked. So he was saying, basically, last time we were... Because the interviewer was just like, yeah, but when's the last time we were truly sovereign, though? And he was like, probably before the Union of Crowns, maybe before the Civil War, because Scotland got involved in it. But what point does that have? It's
not relevant.
Completely historical question. I'm talking about the future. For a conservative, it is important to look to the future and think, okay, because I see conservatism as two different things. There is the big C conservatism of I just want the status quo to stay how it is right now. And then there's the philosophical conservatism where it's like I care about my family, my community, my local area. I don't need to worry about the greater world that's out there. I want to be part of a community and live a good life.
The community in the local area doesn't just have to be your street as well. It can be the nation.
It can be the nation. But for too long, we've been worrying about everything else that's going on in the world.
The globe.
Yeah, we've been worried about the globe. We've been trying to be part of a global community. When most people, that's not their day-to-day lives. That's not what they experience when they go out in the street, like where I'm from in Cheshire. When you go out in the street and you see somebody you know, and you just say hello to them, you have a little chat with them, you catch up. It's lovely. That's the sort of stuff that makes life life meaningful to me. Not knowing that, oh, we're off on the other side of the world trying to expropriate resources or something like back in the day.
But don't worry, we're bringing stability to Somalia.
Yes.
Don't you feel proud?
Oh, this affects me so much in my day-to-day life. I mean, why should I care? At the end of the day, it's like the Peter Thiel supporting the neo-reactionaries in America who are what Carl described as, what was it, postmodern neo-traditionalists. It's like, well, yeah, they just care about the people that they care about, their local community. Why should we be going across the world and trying to turn everything into a liberal democracy when other parts of the world so obviously don't want to be? I mean, what's the point? It's a losing battle. And he just goes on. He just talks about some stuff like being attached to England is about being appreciative of your land and heritage. He makes the point again about just let's be successful and peaceful like Denmark and others. Because just because we would be seceding from, for instance, Scotland and Wales, wouldn't mean we wouldn't be able to trade with them, wouldn't mean we wouldn't be able to get along with them. In fact, in all likelihood, we'd probably get along with them a hell of a lot more if there wasn't this constant battle of, oh, we want to be independent. It would cut that straight out. And somebody called in and was like, oh, are you exaggerating how much like countries like Scotland want to secede because they had the referendum up there and they were like, oh, we don't want to. But he makes the good point of, yeah, that was then and this is now. As time goes on, they're just going to get more and more fervent about potentially wanting to.
But why does the SNP still exist? I mean, I know there are a lot of Scots, and as you say, technically a majority that don't vote for them, but they shouldn't exist as just a thing in the entirety at this point. Like, it's embarrassing to keep seeing them around. It's embarrassing to see them keep making, massive strides in the Scottish Parliament and whatnot. Like, look, sorry, but it's painful to have to listen to that goddamn, what is it, Ian Blackfoot, whenever he gives a speech in Parliament. I don't want to hear it no more.
Yeah, just get it away. And one of the things that he brings up, which I think would be exceptional, was that the whole upheaval of the current order that we live in, if it did happen, and the reforms of the systems, means that it's unlikely that we would get a traditional Tory government following it, and probably unlikely it would get a traditional Labour government. It might be an opportunity for actual upheaval of the political system as we understand it, at least in terms of the parties and their aims.
I love the idea that Peter's just like, I just want chaos.
I mean, would it be that much worse than what we're descending into right now?
Well, chaos is where opportunity lies.
Exactly. But check that out if you've got a BBC account or anything. It was quite interesting. But of course, it was quite controversial that he put this out in the first place. And you had Twitter accounts like the Third Reich, so we can tell exactly where the level of political discourse is going here, saying, yeah, England to leave the UK, hard borders everywhere. That's not what he said. B to the WTO, WHO, NATO, all of it. That's not a bad thing. Block up the channel. Never said that. Close all ferries.
Also based.
Yeah. Close all ferries and ports and airports.
Based.
Never said that, but based. No one allowed in or out. I can think of a few we'd allow out. And flags compulsory on every inch of land.
Very based.
Yeah. You utter effing Burke Hitchens. Now, see, Mr. Third Reich, if that is your real name, you've just sold this to me even more. And if you scroll down, because I think he carries on down here as well. He's just like, he's just saying that this is engaging. Oh yeah, move along to the next tweet that I got up here. And there are people who are just like, oh, you just want to return to the 1850s. You're a small-minded bigot who wants to return to the empire. No, the exact opposite. If you took the opportunity to read this, he's saying we're not the empire anymore. We probably won't be the empire ever again. Let's just accept that and move on. Okay? And then there was a lot of arguments in this as well. And somebody pointed out, trying to say, like, we can't leave the Union. These other countries rely on us. That we're actually...
not my problem.
Yeah, that we're actually subsidizing the rest of the UK to an incredible degree. So click on the top right image there, just so I'll go back to the tweet because it's just easier to get it straight up there. Yeah, right here. So here's public spending as a percentage of GDP across the UK. As you can see, England itself,
it's still ridiculously high.
It's still ridiculously high, but England itself is the lowest one there. Yeah. Now let's see who's actually paying for all that. If we move to the next image along to the right, John. Oh, it's us.
Of course.
We're the ones paying for Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. And I understand the difficulties with Northern Ireland. They don't want to be under Sean Fenner or anything like that. But Peter, in the interview with BBC, he's even like, well, I understand that. I'm more than happy for people who want to live in England from Northern Ireland to come over here if that's what they desperately want. But we just don't want to be part of the UK. Fair play. And
I mean, we could just redo it as an overseas territory.
Yeah, we could do. Yeah, we could do. I think
it could become a tax haven as well, in which case all the violence would stop.
Yeah, that was the point that he made, actually. He was like, well, the Queen is sovereign over lots of random countries dotted around the world. I'm sure she wouldn't mind just taking Northern Ireland under her wing as well.
Yeah, but then having it as a tax haven, the Americans will stop funding all the terrorists, so problem solved.
Hey, sorted. Let's move along to the next one. So people saying like, oh, no state live in a permanent paradise zone. We need to keep being the empire. We can't be like Belgium. Belgium's just a bunch of losers. And then Peter just responds to it and just points out like,
Belgium's not even a country.
Yeah, he's just like, since 1945, the UK has had its history made for it by others. What do you think happened in Suez in 1956?
Yeah, I mean, the Suez Crisis was not our doing. I don't understand that period either. Which were just like, the Americans told us we have to stop. And I'm just like, yeah, but why?
And we just did it anyway. We just did it anyway.
Like, we had the French on our side. We had the Israelis on our side. Who's going to stop us?
America, apparently. Yeah. This is why we're part of the American empire currently. And then, but the most based part of this whole thing that I found was when somebody asked him, what currency are we going to use then? Like, thinking they've got a gotcha. And he's just like, why not the gold sovereign? Divide it into 20 shillings, 12 pence each. Might do the trick.
And I went to a museum a couple of weeks ago and had to try and figure out how to pay a bill in a test card. I couldn't do it. So,
you don't want to return to tradition on the currency?
Absolutely not. That thing was cancer.
Well,
how many crowns are in a sovereign?
I don't know. As long as we're sticking,
no one knows.
As long as we're sticking to some kind of solid gold standard currency. I'm happy, man.
Yeah, as long as it divides in hundreds.
As long as it gets out of fiat, I'm more than happy. But yeah, so what do you think of Peter Hitchen's idea to secede from the UK as England? I'm quite partial to it myself, but I'm interested to see what other people think of it.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, The Bodas, this one on the Strategicon of Maurice. And if you'd like to see more, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com. Thank you and goodbye.